What if I told you that somewhere in the mountains of Romania, there exists a library where the books write themselves, where pages turn without human hands, where fresh ink appears on paper as you watch, and where some volumes know your name before you even touch them? This isn't fiction. This is the documented case of the Cartier-Via Library, and what happened there in 1973 remains one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries in Eastern Europe. The story begins with Dr. Alina Vasquez, a linguistics professor from Bucharest University who received a strange inheritance from her great-aunt, a remote monastery library in the Carpathian Mountains. The building had been abandoned since World War II, but when Alina arrived to assess the property, she found something impossible. The library was immaculate, dust-free, and filled with books that seemed to be writing themselves. But here's where it gets truly terrifying. Alina wasn't the first person to inherit this place. According to local records, the same library had been inherited by 17 different people over the past 30 years. Each inheritor received the same mysterious letter, claiming they were the sole heir of a deceased relative. Each arrived to find the same pristine library, and each one disappeared within 6 months. Alina documented everything. Her journals, recovered months later by authorities, paint a picture of gradual descent into madness, or, perhaps, revelation of something far worse than madness. On her first night in the monastery, Alina discovered that the books were indeed writing themselves. She watched, transfixed, as invisible hands seemed to guide quills across parchment. The words appeared in various languages, some she recognized, others completely foreign. But the most disturbing part, some books were writing in perfect Romanian, detailing events that hadn't happened yet. One volume accurately predicted a train derailment in Brașov 3 days before it occurred. Another described the death of a local mayor with such precision that when the man actually died, exactly as written, police briefly suspected Alina of murder. But the books weren't just prophetic, they were hungry. Alina's journals describe how the books began incorporating details from her own life. Personal memories she had never shared with anyone appeared in the margins of ancient texts. Her childhood fears manifested as illustrations in medical journals. Family secrets, buried for generations, emerged as annotations in religious manuscripts. The books knew things about Alina that Alina didn't even know about herself. By her 3rd week, Alina realized the horrible truth. The library wasn't writing random books, it was writing people. Each volume was slowly becoming the complete psychological profile of someone who had entered the building. The books were consuming the visitors, converting their memories, thoughts, and experiences into text. In her final journal entry, Alina wrote, "I found the shelf with my book today. It's nearly complete. Only 5 pages remain blank. I can feel my memories being pulled from me with each passing hour. The other inheritors, their books are here too, complete volumes, their entire lives reduced to bound text. I understand now why the library needed new people. It had finished writing the others." Authorities found Alina's abandoned car at the monastery 6 months later. The building appeared empty, coated in decades of dust. But local hikers report that on certain nights, they can still see lights flickering in the windows. And when they get close enough, they claim to hear the sound of dozens of quills scratching against paper. The most chilling detail, Romanian authorities discovered that none of the 17 previous inheritors had actually inherited anything. The letters they received were forgeries. The deceased relatives mentioned in the inheritance documents never existed. Something in that monastery had been luring people there for decades, using fake inheritance claims as bait. But here's what will keep you awake at night. In 2019, reports surfaced of a new inheritance letter being received by a professor in Cluj-Napoca. The letter claimed he had inherited a monastery library from a great-aunt named Elena Bascas. The cycle was beginning again. Romanian folklore speaks of places where the boundary between the living and the written word becomes blurred. Libraries that exist not to preserve knowledge, but to create it by consuming those who seek it. The books don't just contain stories, they devour them from the people who read them. adding new chapters to an ever-growing collection of human experience. The monastery remains under government surveillance, but officials refuse to comment on the case. The building itself seems to resist investigation equipment malfunctions. Photographs come out blank, and investigators report feeling an overwhelming compulsion to leave before they can complete their work. Some say the library is still there, waiting in the mountains, still writing, still hungry for new stories. And if you ever receive an unexpected inheritance letter mentioning a remote library, remember Elena's final words: "The books don't write themselves, they write us, and once they finish writing, we cease to exist anywhere but on their pages." The next time you're alone in a library and you hear the sound of pages turning without anyone nearby, ask yourself this: are you reading the books, or are the books reading you? Because in the Carpathian Mountains of Romania, there's a place where that question has a very different answer than you might expect. And the books there have been writing the same story for over 50 years, the story of people who thought they were inheriting a library, not realizing the library was inheriting them. Sweet dreams.